The assembly will come back to order. I will now appoint a committee of two consisting of Assemblywoman Torres and Assemblyman MacArthur to invite the Senate to meet with the Assembly in joint session to hear the message from United States Representative Dina Titus. The committee will be about its business. The members of the Senate are invited to chairs in the Assembly. The Secretary of the Senate will call the Senate roll.
Senator Buck. Senator Cannizzaro. Senator Daley. Senator Danyate. Senator Dondero-Loop. Senator Flores. Senator Goycochea. Senator Hammond. Senator Hansen. Senator Harris. Senator Krasner. Senator Lang. Senator Neal. Senator Wynn. Senator Orenshaw. Senator Pizzina. Senator Scheibel. Senator Severs-Gansert. Senator Spearman. Senator Stone. Senator Titus.
The Chief Clerk of the Assembly will call the Assembly roll.
Assemblywoman Anderson, Assemblywoman Backus, Assemblywoman Bilbray-Axelrod, Assemblywoman Brown-May, Assemblyman Carter, Assemblywoman Cohen, Assemblywoman Considine, Assemblyman DeLong, Assemblywoman Dickman, Assemblyman De Silva, Assemblywoman Duran, Assemblywoman Gallant, Assemblywoman Gonzalez, Assemblywoman Gorlow, Assemblyman Gray, Assemblyman Gurr, Assemblyman Hafen, Assemblywoman Hanson, Assemblywoman Hardy, Assemblyman Hibbets, Assemblywoman Howdigi, Assemblywoman Kasama, Assemblyman Koenig, Assemblywoman LaRue Hatch, Assemblywoman Marzola, Assemblyman MacArthur, Assemblywoman Brittany Miller, Assemblyman C.H. Miller, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, Assemblywoman Mosca, Assemblywoman Newby, Assemblyman Wynn, Assemblyman O'Neill, Assemblyman Orlicker, Assemblywoman Peters, Assemblywoman Summers Armstrong, Assemblywoman Taylor, Assemblywoman Thomas, Assemblywoman Torres, Assemblyman Watts, Assemblyman Urick, Speaker Yeager.
Here. I will now appoint a committee of two consisting of Senator Harris and Assemblywoman Bilbray-Axelrod to wait upon United States Representative Dina Titus and escort her into the Assembly chamber. The committee will be about its business. The appointed committee will escort Representative Titus to the Chief Clerk's rostrum. Everyone, please rise. Congresswoman Titus, we welcome you and we look forward to your message.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Leader, honored guests, and fellow legislators. It's very nice to be here. Thank you for giving me your time tonight. You know, I always feel a little nostalgic when I come back in this building, but it's very different now. I had to go through about 3 different doors and security before anybody could walk in. It didn't matter. In fact, when I was here, we had somebody who claimed to be from outer space who hung around here. Like, you remember him. So things have changed quite a bit. And I look around this room and I see so many new faces, people that I don't know, people I'd like to get to know. But fact is, only 3 of you were here when I served in the legislature. And that was Senators Gansert, Orenshaw, and Gokachia. And they were all in the assembly. So all the rest of you are new to this, and that's what term limits can do. So thank you for being here. You know, I would also mention that someone who is here still, who was here when I was here, is the wonderful, amazing Brenda Erdos. I don't know what we would do without her. She makes us all good. And then I checked out the book for the Lobby Corps, and that was especially interesting. It has certainly changed a lot, but the interesting thing is that the faces are younger, but the names are the same. You got Nikki Vasiliadis, Aaron McMullen, Bob and Henry Ernott, Tommy Ferraro, Jesse Wadhams, Sev Carlson, Chase Whittemore, Will Adler, and John Sandy V. So I know all these people's families, so I feel kind of at home there. You know, plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. Indeed, that's the case. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And look at the agenda that you have. Some of the things that we've been dealing with in this state for a long time. Stopping Yucca Mountain, paying our teachers more, funding mental health, just for 3 examples. Also, in 1990, we passed Question 7 to enshrine Roe versus Wade as in our legislation. And now, in response to the Dobbs decision, you're trying to put the protection of women's health care in the Constitution. Thank you, Leader Cannizzaro. In 1997, I had a bill called Ring Around the Valley. They called it Ring Around the Collar, Ring Around the Rosie. They put a picture of me on the cover of a magazine with a noose around my neck. But nonetheless, that was about sustainable growth. And today you are still dealing with the issues of the consequences of growth, especially in relation to our declining water supply. And as a founding member of the Colorado River State Caucus, I look forward to working with you on this critical issue. Thank you, Assemblyman Watts. In 2005, I chaired an interim disability committee to bring the state in compliance with the Olmstead Act. And now you all are working on a Disability Bill of Rights. And even the witness for this, who has testified so compellingly, is the same who helped me, and that is the amazing Santa Perez. And I give a shout out to her, whether she's here or not. What an incredible person she is. You know, we had a fight the whole time I was here for funding for the Wild Horse and Burro Commission, and now I understand you're pushing to make the iconic Wild Mustang the state horse, so thank you, Senator Pezzina. Go for it. And under the leadership of Senator David Parks, in 1999, we passed the first LGBT protections in the state of Nevada. And just this past November, our state voted on a sweeping equal rights amendment to the Constitution that outlawed discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Thank you, Senator Spearman. So we have a lot in common. We've worked on a lot of the same issues. We are good partners, I do believe. One thing, though, that is different from when I was here is that Nevada has so much federal money to invest in needed programs. In the past, Nevada was a donor state. We sent more money to Washington than we received in return. Now, part of that was because we weren't very good at writing grant proposals, and we either refused to or weren't able to provide a state match. But that's not true any longer. Nevada received considerable funding from the COVID recovery bills, from the infrastructure package, and from the Inflation Reduction Act. Just in short, Nevada received $43.5 billion. Now that included $2.25 billion for local governments, over $1 billion for school districts, and some $121 million for native tribes. And that was on top of the money that went directly to the unemployed and to small businesses like shuttered venues and restaurants to help them with personnel costs, utilities, and rent. I'm not going to spend my short time here going over ad nauseum the details of all these bills. I'm sure you'll hear a lot about them from some of my colleagues who'll come with the delegation. But just think about some of the things like renewable energy, water conservation, child care, and mass transit. All of that is funding coming to Nevada. And not to mention the extended child tax credit, the health insurance assistance, and rebates for transitioning to renewable energy. And all of that goes directly to the people of Nevada. I would like to just brag a little bit. I'm proud of my efforts to increase Nevada's allocation overall. I fought very hard to change the funding formulas to also include unemployment as well as just population, and that resulted in Nevada getting an extra $1 billion. Thank you. And as chairman then and ranking member now of the subcommittee that oversees economic development, we were able to get special funding streams for areas hardest hit by the lack of tourism because of the pandemic. And we created an undersecretary for tourism in the Department of Commerce, and at the time we were the only country in the G20 that didn't have such a position or didn't elevate tourism to that level. So we got some of that additional money. Now, I'm going to tell you, bad as I hate to, but we are never going to get that amount of federal funding again, no matter how good of a job we do with grants and matching. So I urge you to invest it in sustainable projects, substantive but sustainable, that can create really major systemic change in Nevada. I don't hand it out in a piecemeal, one-off fashion, because that can be very popular in the short term, but in the long term, you know as well as I do how hard it is to take away a benefit or stop a program that people want and like once the money runs out. And I have a feeling that there's not much of a mind to raise taxes to cover those programs here in the state. Mr. Treasurer, you're going to have to do some good investing to make this happen. I also want, speaking of investing, I urge you to spend these dollars now, because if you look at the Republicans' bill to deal with the debt ceiling, part of that provision is to claw back any unspent COVID money. So get it out the door as much as possible. We don't want to give back anything to the federal government. Now, there are some issues that are coming up when I go back next week that we're going to have to deal with through the summer. Dealing with the debt limit is certainly one of them. Addressing gun violence and immigration reform will be at the top of the list. Passing the PRO Act, the Equality Act, and the Women's Health Act. But all of this is going to be very difficult given the politics that we face right now. Our political environment is very stressed. So right now, the majority interest in the House is not on those things I just mentioned. It's on two things. One is rolling back environmental protection, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, abortion rights, labor rights, and voting rights. That's the agenda. The second half of the agenda is conducting investigations. Now, as of now, we have investigations going on. January the 6th, Hunter Biden, Secretary Mayorkas, Dr. Fauci, the FBI, document leaks, the Wuhan lab, the Afghanistan withdrawal, and the weaponization of the federal government, whatever the hell that means. So that's what's happening. But you know, the people of Nevada, that's not what they want. They want us to get together, work together, get along, and get something accomplished. So we can't let the fringe control the majority. We've got to put people over politics. And we can do that. We did it with the passage of the PACT Act, which benefited veterans, increased benefits for veterans, and the CHIPS Act to stimulate American manufacturing. So we can work across the aisle, and I know y'all do a good job of that here in Carson. Specifically, I'm going to be engaged in two fronts throughout the summer of this Congress, and they're both bipartisan. As co-chair of the Gaming Caucus, I'm going to be working to raise the reportable win limit, which hasn't been raised since 1977. And to eliminate the handle tax, which is mostly just paid by Nevada. And as a senior member of the Transportation Committee, I'm going to keep fighting for those dollars so we can finally build an interstate between Las Vegas and Phoenix, I-11, the only two metropolitan areas that aren't connected by an interstate. And let's get that speed train. I've been on the Speed Train Commission, appointed by Bob Miller, continued by Kenny Gwynn. Then Gibbons came along. I don't think he knew it existed. He forgot I was even on it, or he'd have thrown me off. And, you know, how many years is that? So finally, Brightline is making a little way forward, so let's hope we get that speed train. You know, we have come a long way since the pandemic hit. You know, you think, oh, that was last year. No, that was 2 years, 3 years ago. That's how much time we've lost. We were the hardest hit in the country. We had 35% unemployment, the worst since the Great Depression. But now we are the fastest recovering part of the country. We've got, our unemployment is way down. We've got record gaming revenues, record airport traffic. The economy is definitely coming back. But we need to be sure that the recovery is sustainable and that the benefits reach everybody. So we need to get equal pay for women. We need it. We need to invest in STEM education and workforce development, and I know a lot of you are working on that. And we need environmental justice. You know, I'm an optimist, and if I weren't, I wouldn't be in this business. But I think we can get these things done. I think we can work together and make progress. But sometimes I might get a little discouraged by the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene or what's happening on the ground in Ukraine. That's enough to make you discouraged. But when I feel that way, I stop and think about something that we accomplished recently with all kind of folks from every walk of life coming together, working quietly behind the scenes for a sustained period of time and never giving up, and that's the key. And that was the designation of a Viquame National Monument. This national monument is 500,000 acres of sacred Indian lands. It's got breathtaking scenery and landscapes and iconic flora and fauna. It'll now be preserved and protected for posterity. Native American tribal leaders, local government officials, conservationists and progressive groups, outdoor recreationalists and the businesses they support, President Biden and Interior Secretary Holland all join forces to make this happen. I want to thank them for letting me help carry the baton over the finish line. It is one of my proudest moments, and I'm honored to continue Nevada's legacy of protecting our public lands for future generations. You know, thank you. You know, speaking of legacies, I've heard recently that Annette Magnus has decided she's going to retire from Battleborn Progress after this session. I hated to hear that. We all owe Annette a debt of gratitude for what she's done to educate the public, successfully advocate for important causes, and keep the progressive agenda at the forefront of Nevada politics. Godspeed, Annette. We'll miss you here, but I don't think you'll be a stranger. Maybe you should run for office. So I want to thank you all again for your time and your consideration and your attention. Thank you for all your hard work on behalf of Nevadans. Thank you for being away from home and in this snow, the snowmageddon that you had this year. Thank you just for your dedication and your passion. I am honored to be your colleague, and I look forward to working with you. So let's go finish the job. Thank you so much.
Senator Buck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Senate and Assembly in joint session extend a vote of thanks to Representative Titus for her timely, able, and constructive message.
Assemblywoman Brittany Miller.
I concur.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. The appointed committee will escort Representative Titus to the bar of the Assembly. Assemblywoman Brown May.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the joint session of the Senate and Assembly be dissolved.
Senator Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I second the motion.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. I declare the joint session dissolved.
Good job.
Thank you.
See you next time.
All right, sound. Assemblywoman Howdigi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly adjourn until Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023, at the hour of 4:30 p.m.
Assemblywoman Howdigi has moved that the Assembly stand adjourned until Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023, at the hour of 4:30 p.m. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.